You found your way to Whispers of Crimes, a quiet corner where the shadows of the past are gently told. Here, we speak of real crimes and mysteries, not to shock or scare, but to wonder, to reflect, and maybe to help you fall asleep. So close your eyes, let your thoughts slow down, and come with me into tonight's case. He was smart, ambitious, just 20 years old. Sanda Dia had dreams of becoming an engineer in Belgium. But in December 2018, during a hazing ritual for an elite student fraternity, he was forced to drink toxic fluids, stand in freezing water, and endure hours of psychological and physical torment. 48 hours later, Sanda was dead. What followed wasn't just tragedy, it was a cover-up. 18 privileged students destroyed evidence, wiped their phones, and walked away without a single day in prison. This wasn't just about hazing. It was about race, class, and a justice system that looked the other way. This is the story of how a bright young man was killed and how an entire country is still demanding answers. Chapter 1. Who was Sanda Dia? Sanda Dia was not the kind of person the elite circles of Belgium usually expected to see knocking on their doors. He was born in 1997, the son of a Senegalese immigrant father and a Flemish mother, and raised in the town of Edegem near Antwerp. His upbringing was modest. His family did not come from wealth or privilege, but they instilled in him a strong work ethic and the belief that education was the key to a better future. Sanda embodied that belief in every way. He stood out not only because of his background or skin color in a predominantly white country, but because of his intellect, his charisma, and his ambition. He was thoughtful, inquisitive, and driven to succeed. Sanda earned a spot at KU Leuven, one of the most prestigious universities in Belgium, where he pursued engineering. To understand what that meant in Belgium, it is important to know that KU Leuven is more than just a top academic institution. It's a historical symbol of excellence, often serving as a gateway to the country's elite class. And Sanda didn't just want a degree. Like many students navigating elite spaces, he knew that social capital connections, influence, networks could matter just as much as academic achievement. That's where Rouzegam came in. Rouzegam was not just a fraternity. It was an elite, secretive student society known for recruiting the sons of high-ranking judges, CEOs, politicians, and wealthy Flemish families. Getting into Rouzegam could open doors that even a top engineering degree couldn't. In 2018, Sanda decided to pledge Rouzegam. He likely understood that the process wouldn't be easy. Hazing was known to be part of the experience. But like many young men seeking to prove themselves, Sanda stepped into the process, unaware of just how dangerous and cruel it would become. Chapter 2. Into the Woods, the hazing begins. On December 4th, 2018, Sanda and 2 other pledges, one Flemish, one also of minority background, were taken to a secluded wooded area in Vorselaar for what was presented as the final stage of their initiation. There, they would be tested, humiliated, and supposedly bonded with the Rouzegam members in a traditional rite of passage. What unfolded was anything but traditional. The pledges were immediately stripped of autonomy and dignity. For 48 hours, they were subjected to a barrage of degrading, dangerous tasks. They were forced to stand in icy water in a pit they had to dig themselves, what some members later called a grave. In freezing December temperatures, this was a clear and immediate risk to their health, particularly hypothermia. They were ordered to drink excessive quantities of alcohol and a mixture of fish oil and other substances. These fluids are not only nauseating, but can cause serious physiological harm when consumed in large quantities. Sanda was also made to eat large amounts of food mixed with hot sauce, and then subjected to vomiting, something seen as both a test and a punishment. Sleep was not allowed. The pledges were kept awake for hours, forced to perform menial and humiliating tasks while enduring constant verbal abuse. Every act was framed as tradition. Every order had to be obeyed, and none of it had medical oversight. By December 5th, Sanda was visibly unwell. He was vomiting, dizzy, and showing signs of confusion. His body temperature had dropped dangerously low. Despite these warning signs, the Ruzegam members did not seek medical attention. Some even filmed the events, laughing. They made no effort to intervene until it was too late. When they finally decided to take Sanda to the hospital, he was in critical condition. The members dropped him off and left. They did not inform his family. They did not stay to explain what had happened. Instead, they returned to the cabin to begin covering their tracks. Chapter 3. The hospital and the last hours. At the hospital in Mal, the staff was shocked by Sanda's condition. His temperature was dangerously low, suggesting severe hypothermia. Blood tests revealed massive dehydration and the sodium level far beyond the safe range. This condition, known as hypernatremia, causes cells in the body to shrink and can rapidly lead to brain swelling, organ failure, and death. Doctors worked through the night to stabilize him. He was transferred to the University Hospital in Antwerp, where he was placed in intensive care. Over the next 48 hours, he deteriorated further. His body was shutting down. The fish oil mixture he had been forced to drink had caused a spike in his salt levels that his kidneys could not reverse. Combined with the effects of exposure, lack of sleep, and stress, his organs began to fail one by one. Despite the best efforts of the medical team, Sanda Dia was declared dead on December 7th, 2018. The autopsy confirmed death due to multiple organ failure caused by acute hypernatremia, dehydration, hypothermia, and physical exhaustion. In other words, Sanda was killed by the hazing he was subjected to. His body simply could not recover. His death sent a wave of grief through his family and friends. They had lost a son, a brother, a promising student with a future. But soon, grief turned into confusion and then into anger as the truth about what happened began to emerge. Chapter 4. A coordinated cover-up. Rather than calling the authorities or alerting Sanda's family, the Ruzegam members returned to the hazing site and began a systematic effort to destroy evidence. Surveillance footage was deleted, phones were wiped, group chats were purged. Buckets, containers, clothing, anything that could link them to the hazing was thrown away or burned. They communicated about the cleanup in detail. Some even had legal advice from parents before speaking to the police. The group lawyered up fast. Several members came from highly influential families, sons of magistrates, politicians, and corporate executives. These connections raised immediate concerns about impartiality. The initial police investigation was slow. While investigators eventually recovered some messages and photos that had not been deleted, the extent of the cleanup hindered evidence collection. The media began to dig into the fraternity's history. What they found was disturbing. Ruzegam had long had a reputation for excess and cruelty. Past hazings had included locking pledges in dog cages, forcing them to eat vomit, and other brutal acts. But the university had done little to rein them in. Ruzegam operated in a gray area of student life, recognized yet unofficial, tolerated yet unregulated. KU Leuven formally cut ties with Ruzegam after Sanda's death. The fraternity was disbanded, but critics noted that this was a reactive measure. Nothing had been done to prevent such a tragedy despite years of warning signs. Chapter 5. The long road to trial. It would take until 2023, nearly 5 years after Sanda's death, for the legal proceedings to conclude. In the interim, Belgium witnessed a growing public demand for justice. Journalists, activists, and academics began pointing out not just the negligence of the fraternity, but what they saw as deeper issues, class privilege, racial dynamics, and systemic impunity. In total, 18 Ruzigam members were charged. However, the charges fell short of what many had hoped. Rather than being charged with manslaughter, the defendants faced involuntary manslaughter, administration of harmful substances, and degrading treatment. These lesser charges came with lighter sentencing guidelines. During the trial, testimonies from experts confirmed that Sanda had died from a combination of physical abuse and systemic neglect. But the defendants largely denied responsibility. Some claimed they did not believe he was in danger. Others said they had relied on senior members to make decisions. No one took full accountability. One Ruzigam member reportedly admitted that they had avoided calling for help sooner because they feared repercussions for the group. Another said they didn't think it was that serious. Yet the evidence made it clear that Sanda had been visibly deteriorating, vomiting, disoriented, shivering uncontrollably. Despite these facts, when the verdict came in, the court sentenced the defendants to community service and fines ranging from 200 euros to 400 euros. None received prison time. The justification: they were young, they had no criminal records, and the court considered their actions a tragic mistake rather than intentional cruelty. Chapter 6: National Outrage and the Question of Justice. The verdict triggered a wave of public outrage across Belgium. Sanda's family was devastated. Many Belgians, particularly those from minority or working-class communities, saw the sentence as confirmation of what they had long suspected. In Belgium, justice is not blind. It sees race, it sees class. Public figures voiced their frustration. Protests were held in cities across the country. Justice for Sanda became both a social media movement and a national rallying cry. Petitions called for harsher penalties and legal reforms. Prominent lawyers and human rights groups criticized the verdict as too lenient and a failure of the judicial system. Observers pointed out the racial component. Would the same leniency have been shown if the roles were reversed? Would a group of Black or immigrant youth who killed a wealthy white student have received community service? Belgium's legal system was also scrutinized for its reliance on discretion. Judges are allowed significant leeway in sentencing, and critics argued that this discretion often worked in favor of the privileged. Others noted that the court never truly acknowledged the racial dynamics involved, treating the case as class-based rather than racially motivated. Chapter 7: The Legacy of Sanda Dia in the years since his death. Sanda Dia has become more than just a victim, he has become a symbol. His name is invoked in debates about university oversight, hazing practices, systemic racism, and privilege in Belgian society. His legacy is complex. On one hand, the fraternity that caused his death no longer exists. Reforms have been proposed to prevent hazing-related deaths. Awareness of institutional discrimination has grown. On the other hand, the young men who left him to die faced minimal consequences, and the system that allowed it all to happen remains largely unchanged. Sanda's story continues to resonate, not because it was a one-time tragedy, but because it exposed a recurring truth. When the powerful close ranks, justice becomes negotiable. His death forces Belgium and the wider world to ask hard questions about who gets protected and who gets forgotten. Sanda Dia wanted to belong. He wanted to succeed. And he did everything society asked of him to get there. But society failed him in return. And though he's gone, the conversation his death sparked is still unfolding. It is up to all of us to make sure that conversation never ends. That's all for tonight's story. Another thread in the web of true crime, quietly unraveling as the night goes on. If you're still with me, thanks for listening. And if sleep has already taken you, may your dreams be peaceful and your mind at ease. I'll be here next time by the fire with another story waiting to be told. Good night, and don't forget to lock your doors.